Hey there, Genuine here, back with the next video. In my previous video, the lock switch mod video, I talked about a solderless trick that you can use on the quick disconnects with the buttons themselves. Many have had questions since then, and you guys didn't quite understand what I was talking about. So in today's video, I'd like to cover the solderless trick pertaining to ribbon cable and connections and the quick disconnect connections on the terminal block and the buttons themselves. Now for the buttons and the terminal block, you notice that the tabs have a small hole at the top. For the solderless trick, what you want to do is you take your wire. In this example, I'm using 26 gauge solid wire. You thread the wire through that small hole, like so. Okay? And you hold it in place. Now take your quick disconnect and take a look at it. You notice that one side is flat while the other side is curled. What you want to do is you take the flat side, okay, and insert it onto the tab and sandwich this exposed wire between the flat side of the quick disconnect and the tab. So as you can see here, the wire is secure, and looks like we got lucky on this one. Now here's the thing that makes this trick ineffective. Depending on the wire you use and the size, what might happen is when you insert the quick disconnect onto the tab, it might break the wire off completely. And it's very frustrating when that happens 3-4 times just for one connection. And that's what makes this thing very ineffective. I prefer a soldered method, but if you must use this trick, just a word of warning, you will break a couple wires. But just keep trying and eventually you'll get it. A trick you can use to minimize wire breakage is to loosen the quick disconnect itself. You take a flathead screwdriver and just insert it under the curled parts and just loosen the quick disconnect. That may give you just enough room for your wire to sit snug, and that will prevent you from breaking any wires. So to summarize this, the trick for buttons and the tabs on the terminal block, you take the wire, thread it through the hole, like so. Take the flat end of the quick disconnect, insert it onto the tab, and sandwich the stripped wire between the tab and the flat end of the quick disconnect. And there you go. Repeat for your other buttons, and you should have a majority of your connections done. For this next part, I want to cover the ribbon cables and the ribbon connectors. So let's pull it out and explore the solderless trick. So on one side of the connector, you notice that there are tabs that hold the tiny little female pins inside, and the other side are these guide rails. We're going to work with the side that has the little tiny tabs. Okay? For the solderless trick, what you want to do is you take a wire. In this example, I'm using 26 gauge stranded wire. You insert the wire into the hole and then fold it back on top of the side of the connector that has the little tiny tabs. Okay? I'm going to go ahead and insert 2 more since I have that available to me, and insert them in random positions to show that this trick works for these ribbon connectors. There's the second one, and make sure you hold them in place so they don't fall out. And here's the third one. You can even go as far as using 28 gauge wire, the thinner the better, but you must use stranded, because you want the wire to get flattened when you insert it back onto the connector. So here's my connector with 3 wires inside. It looks like that. Okay. Now what you want to do is you insert it back onto the connector on the board itself. Make sure you hold it like so, and then slowly and carefully insert it back onto the board. And there you have it. That is the Solderless trick for the ribbon connectors. As you can see here, the wires are going to push the outer shell a little bit, but that's okay as long as you don't screw up the little pins underneath. So once you get all your wires in, it's going to look something like this, except you're going to have 6 of them coming out. And you can see they're pretty snug. They're not going anywhere. Okay. So now that I have my wires in my connector, I like to show you with my multimeter that this trick does indeed work. I have wires connected to the right button, the right trigger, and the start. So I want to take my multimeter, put it on the sound indicator, as you can see, and test the connections. So here is a test for the right button. Nice. Coming from the terminal block and the wire. Next one will be the right trigger. Look at that. How do you like that? And the last one, start button. You touch the wire here. Oh man, do you like that or what? Okay, so between the ribbon connector solderless trick, the terminal solderless trick, you have about 90% of your connections covered, where you don't have to worry about soldering, which is a good thing for those who aren't so good at soldering. The only points you need to worry about soldering is the one point on the control module for the lock switch mod, the USB connections for your dual system mod, and any other solder connections such as the toggle switch for your dual system mod. So I hope this video clears up any confusion on how the solderless trick is performed. I'm pretty sure it should cover a majority of the questions out there, and I hope I showed enough detail that you guys can go out there and perform this method by yourself. Like I said before, I prefer a complete solder solution, but for those that can't solder as well, I recommend doing this method. So I hope you enjoyed this video, hope you came away with a lot of information, and I'll see you in my next one.